argument, no room to spin the outcome. Now here's the uncomfortable part they don't want to say out loud. If those systems were right about you, then they were wrong about you for a long time. That means their confidence wasn't wisdom, it was assumption. And assumptions feel powerful until they collide with verification. And assumptions feel powerful until they collide with verification. This is why they laugh now, because admitting respect from serious evaluators would force them to admit they misjudged you without doing the work to truly know you. And that realization is expensive. It costs pride, it costs image, it costs the identity of being the one who sees clearly. So instead of owning the mistake, they downplay the source. They joke about the outcome. They act like the validation doesn't matter. But deep down, they know exactly what kind of approval this was. And they know it wasn't given lightly. Number 2. Their confidence collapsed the moment authority stopped agreeing with them. There's a hidden truth about people who rely on authority for their sense of certainty. Their confidence isn't their own. It's borrowed. It exists only as long as the voices they trust continue to confirm their worldview. The second those voices change their tune, the foundation underneath them crumbles, and it's sudden, chaotic, and often humiliating. They're used to leaning on others for validation, measuring reality by consensus rather than by clarity or reason. When the authorities they trusted recognized you as legendary, something inside them broke, and that break didn't look quiet or graceful. It looked like panic disguised as mockery. This collapse isn't about intellect, it's about ego. Their identity was wrapped up in being right because the sources they trusted never failed them, until you came along. For them, certainty was a shield. When those shields dissolved, they were left exposed, raw, and scrambling for something to hold on to. Suddenly all the pride, all the certainty, all the assumptions about their judgment turned to dust. It's easy to laugh when things make sense, but it's a different kind of laugh when your own framework betrays you. That's the laugh they're producing now, laughter that's defensive, bitter, and almost theatrical because admitting the collapse would be unbearable. What's fascinating is how quickly people try to patch that collapse with stories and explanations that preserve their self-image. They replay old narratives, twist timelines, or emphasize tiny inconsistencies elsewhere to convince themselves they're still in control. Meanwhile, the authority that actually matters has already made its assessment. You don't need to argue, you don't need to prove, you don't need to chase approval, because their confidence isn't part of the picture anymore. And that's why the moment is so powerful. Your recognition didn't just elevate you, it exposed them. It forced them to confront the fragility of their certainty and the shallow construction of their pride. Their laughter isn't joy. It's the sound of someone watching the ground shift beneath their feet and pretending it's solid, even when they know it's not. Number 3. You exposed how much of their intelligence was outsourced. Most people like to believe they're thinking for themselves, that their judgments are original, sharp, and informed. But when the sources they rely on start calling you legendary, it becomes painfully obvious how much of their intelligence was borrowed. They weren't evaluating you. They were repeating what they were told, echoing opinions, and leaning on other voices to carry the weight of their decisions. Your recognition didn't just elevate you, it highlighted a fundamental dependency they didn't want anyone to notice. Every laugh, every snide remark, every attempt to dismiss you is really a cover-up for the fact that they never really assessed anything themselves. What makes it devastating for them is that these systems, these sources, weren't influenced by charm, manipulation, or popularity. They were objective, precise, and uncompromising. Their approval doesn't bend for bias or personal preference. So when those same authorities recognized you, It revealed the uncomfortable truth. Their confidence had been borrowed, rehearsed, and shallow. They weren't standing on expertise. They were standing on a borrowed ladder, and you just watched it collapse under them without even touching it. The humor here is almost cruel. They act like they're mocking you, but in reality, they're mocking themselves, because for years, they have been measuring others by the wrong scale. They've been defending positions without understanding them, criticizing people without knowing the facts, and feeling smart because someone else's stamp of approval told them they were right. That's the kind of exposure that doesn't look pretty. That's the kind of reality that makes laughter tremble with nervousness. Your rise forces them to confront the fact that authority doesn't equal insight. It forces them to admit that their perceived cleverness was mostly imitation. And that's why their reactions are so messy, so loud, so desperate. You didn't have to dismantle them with words, actions, or proof. You simply allowed the systems that matter to speak, and the truth shone through. Their intelligence